Hello my art-loving friends! In today's video we will be using these Ohuhu acrylic markers to customize a watercolor palette. Plus we're going to test these markers on a couple of other surfaces as well. So stay tuned because it's going to be really fun. Acrylic markers are some of my favorite types of markers to use, and I am excited for these. You can see they come in this really nice case. It's like a canvas, kind of a soft canvas though, real soft. You can see I wrote on it already. And they have the tag here so you can hold it, grab it, zipper all the way around. And inside looks like this. And yes, I have already swatched them. So they come with white swatch sheet and a black swatch sheet. I'll show you those in closer detail in a moment. You have 6 extra large nibs and 3 extra skinny ones, which brings me to the point that each marker has the fat end and the skinny end that is plastic. Okay, but you can get a nice fine point with these plastic nibs. I'll show you one that's been used and what it looks like after you have pumped it to get the ink out. I guess it's not ink, I guess it's paint, right? So these are just like Poscas where you have to shake them at first. You can hear that ball inside. So you shake them really well, better than I was just doing it there because I didn't want to make you dizzy. And you'll push the nib down like so till the paint starts coming out, and then you can start writing with them. And the same is true for the plastic nib. You push it down just the same, okay? And here's a closer look at all of the colors, what they look like on white paper versus black paper. In this 30 pack, you get 15 regular colors, 9 metallic colors, and 6 neon colors. And in my opinion, the neon colors are more like pastel colors. They're not that bright, but they are quite pretty, so I'm glad they're in there. The metallic ones are, I don't know, I'm not as excited about these metallic ones as I am about metallic ones of other brands, but I find them interesting at least. I do wish this had a standard green in it. I'm really missing that, and a standard orange. I decided to start my acrylic marker adventure out by painting this cover, and you'll see when I lift this bowl up that the cover comes unpainted, and that is so much fun because you can customize it however you want. So I grabbed a bowl from the kitchen, realized that yellow pencil didn't show up at all, grabbed a regular graphite pencil and did the same thing. But you saw there when I lifted the bowl that it's a design just waiting for you to color it in. And these markers work so well on this cover. You'll see that as it comes up here. Now the paper sleeve that came over the top of this that I showed you in the beginning of the video has a really fun color scheme that you're welcome to copy and paint with these markers onto your own cover here. But I intentionally put that cover face down because I wanted to do my own color scheme. And the reason I paused when I very first put this color on the cover here was because I wasn't sure how much it would bleed out to the sides, because sometimes when you use acrylic markers or markers in general on a fabric type surface, there's quite a bit of bleed. But I didn't notice that here on this canvas. I'm gonna just call it canvas. It's just super soft canvas though, whatever it is, but you can see how beautifully these markers are gliding onto the surface here. It's really quite remarkable. The color I'm using right now is called Azure Blue, and it's pretty, very pretty blue. So one thing you'll notice if you try this on your own is that the color looks really vibrant on this canvas at first, but as it starts to dry, it actually starts soaking into the fabric a little bit. So I ended up doing 2 coats over every surface that I painted on here. And you saw just then when I was repumping the marker that I had quite a puddle come out, so that's a good reminder to everyone when you are priming any type of acrylic paint marker, make sure you're doing it on a separate surface, not on your working surface. These don't spill out and leak out quite as quickly as I've had some markers do, but you saw that one did kind of come out pretty fast. I would say overall though, these are pretty well in control when you're priming them. The neon ones, the ones that have the neon in their name, do come out more liquidy, so make sure you really shake those up, get them really well mixed together so that they don't just spill out on you. And then the metallic ones actually are hard to get the paint out. They're really sticky inside. So those you don't really, well, I didn't have to worry about priming those, even though I still just did it on a separate surface. No matter what, that's just something you need to just do as a rule. All right, I'm going to fast forward through some of this. Hopefully it won't be too dizzying. I tried not to turn the canvas thing too much, but you know, sometimes you have to move your working surface around in order for your hand to be in the right position. So I tried to keep my hand out of the paint, by the way, but I still ended up with it all over my palm. And you probably saw in the beginning of the video, all over my hands in general. It was at this point where I switched to the smaller nib, and you can see how well that gets in these small areas. That does a really good job. However, because of the nature of the plastic nib and working on fabric, sometimes it will catch the fabric and spew paint. Kind of little specks of paint will fly over your working surface, but luckily with acrylic markers, they're opaque. So if you spew a little paint because it catches the fabric a little bit, it's not a big deal to go back with your other color and just go over the top of it and fix it. So pretty forgiving when you're working with acrylic paint markers. And while I do have to reprime the color, sometimes it didn't feel excessive at all. It felt like the color in each priming session lasted quite a while. So when I had gotten pretty far done here, I decided to not video the rest of that because it's boring. And I wanted a contrasting color for the blue, except I didn't want it orange. And I didn't really have a great orange. I wanted yellow. So we have yellow leaves here, and I really like them, but you can tell I am only filling in the very big spots, and when I do this I do notice some areas that should have been blue that I missed, but it's not a big deal. And here is me priming the small end so that I can get in there. You can see it didn't take too long, it wasn't too hard. The paint didn't spew out horribly. It came down pretty gently actually, and it gets a nice small area just like before. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up these leaves and move on to other areas. So while this is extremely satisfying filling in all of these black blanks, it did take over 2 hours to just paint what you're seeing here within this circle. It was kind of crazy how long it took, but I guess that's the nature of coloring, and that's probably why I don't color very often, because it just is very time consuming. So we're going to skip some of the filling in of this because it's just the same thing. But one thing that I do want to show you is that I used the small nib on the black marker at the end and outlined everything because I just felt like we lost some of the detail in the leaves, well, in the entire cover really. So here I'll skip ahead and show you kind of what it looks like done, but using the small black nib to do outlines over everything. And I think that really helped make it come alive. It made it look real nice. And once I was done with that, I went ahead and put my contact information on the bottom, and then I figured this might be up on the shelf, kind of like a book. So I wanted to mark what it is on the side here, or the end, I guess you could say. So here I am putting in contact information, but it's neat because the way these markers are stored in this case, you could actually store this upright like a book because it would still have the markers be horizontal. So that's a really neat feature. And now we're going to switch over to the little palette. This is the 31 Purplefish watercolors that I put in one of my little core palettes. But it's obviously not core watercolor, so I wanted to customize this palette. So I'm taking sandpaper and just sanding over the whole thing just to kind of rough it up, hoping the marker will stick to it a little bit better. And then I prime the metallic purple, except I didn't have enough paint because these metallics are stubborn getting the paint out, like I mentioned before. But I go ahead and use this marker over the entire back of this, and it actually works okay. It's not as easy as if I had just taken a paintbrush and acrylic paint, but I really wanted to test out these markers. Otherwise, I would have gone the easy route. But like I said, I needed to test these. I needed to see if this would work for me or not. And ideally, I wouldn't use these markers on such a large metallic surface. Maybe I would for lettering, but not just to cover an entire surface. but it does work, so you can do it. Once the back had dried enough, I set it down on the back of the swatch sheet actually, and then I did the exact same thing on the top, and I left the sides of the tin black because I thought that looked fine, and this was kind of fun covering this. I wasn't sure how well it would work on the lifted parts. I don't know, it just felt like maybe the paint would scratch the other paint off, and I think if you do too many coats while it's not dry, it probably could scratch off, so you do need to just be aware of how much paint you have on your marker and how much paint you're putting down on the thing and your dryness level. Then I used the small nib here to get on the edges because that part was decorated. It had some of those polka dots, so I wanted to color that. Now I'd made a mistake on the back and I didn't get all the sticky off, so I scratched the sticky off with my thumbnail, and of course that made the paint scratch off because it's just tin and I hadn't done any kind of covering on it yet. So I'm trying to put another coat on there, but you can see I didn't have enough paint on the nib in that one area, and you can probably tell it kind of started to scratch it off a little bit. So you just have to have enough paint on your nib so you don't scratch it off, that's all. And once that had dried completely, I flipped it over and did a second coat on the top again, and that pretty well covered everything. At least I'm pretty happy with it. Very happy with it actually. And you can see I'm putting a second coat on pretty successfully. I don't feel like anything tried to scratch off, so I was just aware of how much paint I had on my nib, so that's the lesson of this part of the video apparently. Since this palette will hold the 31 Purple Fish watercolors that were gifted to me, I wanted to label it 31 Purple Fish, plus I will be painting on some fish characters, couldn't think of what to call them there, on each of the little bubbles. But this is the neon yellow, I think it's called. Yes, neon yellow. But yeah, to me it's more of a pastel yellow. It's really pretty. So I ended up using a lot of the pastel colors actually, and I go ahead and put a bunch of little fish characters with the random colors, and I enjoyed this part a lot. These worked really well on the metal, and you can see when I'm putting the fish colors over the metallic purple, it's not trying to pull up the metallic purple at all. But I also have enough paint on the nib, as we've talked about. I won't keep hounding on that, but it's important. But it's kind of neat. I didn't wait in a few cases enough time for the paint to dry, and so like I put a black eye in and it would bleed, and then I'd be like, oh shoot, I didn't wait long enough. So it does stay wet a little bit longer on this metal surface, but I don't know, you just have to have patience, let it dry before you put the next layer on, and you'll be fine. Now this color here is the neon green, and it's one of the thinner ones. I just couldn't get the neon green to be very thick, so I think I come up and put a second coat on it later. I can't quite remember, but it'll be obvious here in a moment. And then a couple of the faces are looking kind of funky, but it's okay, it's cute. Yeah, I did put a second coat on it there. I love the little one in the right bottom corner and the top left corner. This is one of the projects I actually took with me to Canada to do, and I brought a little tiny container of this Liquitex acrylic medium gloss varnish, but I didn't do this on the trip. So here I am back in my studio, and the big huge bottle is there. So I will cover the front and back of this cute little palette with this Liquitex gloss varnish, and that should prevent it from getting scratched. And then I'm going to move on to the last project of this video. This is just regular sketchbook paper. This is a B sketchbook. It's not watercolor paper. It's just their regular 90-pound drawing paper sketchbook. And I was really curious how the markers would perform on it, because when I did the swatch sheet on the white paper, it felt like the markers were eating the paper a little bit. You know how you'll get little paper shards on your marker? But on the black paper, they went on really smoothly. So I was curious about this, and this was a great test. I decided to cover this entire page with cats and use all the colors except the metallics. I didn't want any metallics on this page, just the regular colors and the neon colors, because in my opinion, as I've said, the neon colors look regular to me. They just look like nice pastel, beautiful colors. So this one's the neon yellow. I'd go through all the neon colors first here, so you'll see them one after the other, and then we'll move on. And you can see here I have a couple of paper shards, but a lot less than when I was swatching them on the white paper. So I have featured this sketchbook in other videos. I will link my sketchbook playlist and you'll see this sketchbook in there eventually. This is the sketchbook that I covered the marker with acrylic paint, a very, very bright sunset scene, which I actually want to redo because it's too bright for me these days. I like more muted scenes, and this one kind of is in your face. But anyway, yes, this is just a B90-pound sketchbook drawing paper, and these markers did great. And you can see I'm filling in really big areas with these, and the paper is handling it, the markers are handling it, and it's not bleeding through at all. I also never felt like I was running out of paint in any of these, so I think they're pretty well filled with quite a bit of paint. We'll see as I keep using them. I'm putting them in my acrylic marker stash. Maybe I'll have an acrylic marker month here coming up soon. I decided to do some monthly focuses like Evie Diva Doodles does. I think I said her channel name right. I'll try and find it and link it below just to be safe. But anyway, she does these monthly themes, and I talked to my Patreon supporters about it, and some of them thought that was probably a good idea. Anyway, we may see these markers again in the future. Well, we'll definitely see them again in the future because I really love acrylic markers, and these are nice ones. So I do get to use every single marker in there except the metallics, as I've said, and I have to repeat a couple of them just to finish up the cats near the top, but I think it looks okay. And the fun part is I get to use the black marker at the end to do outlines, which you'll see that here once I'm done drawing all the cats. That one's the light gray. I really like that color. The one to the left of that is brown. Anyway, beautiful colors, but I wish there was a standard green and maybe a more lemon yellow and a more standard orange. I love the red and blue that comes in this set though. A dark brown would be nice too. The brown that they have in this set, as you can see, is a little bit of a gray brown. Very pretty brown, but wouldn't mind more of a standard brown. So them putting out a standard color set would be kind of neat. And here's the white. I'm doing the white for the eyes, and I don't know if the paint's just not dry enough on my cats or the white's just not kind of very thick paint in the marker, but I can never get the white in this set to be really opaque. So if you want a really opaque white, you might want to get something different, like maybe just some white acrylic paint or gel pen or something else like that, bleed proof white, because this one is never going to be fully opaque. And I could try shaking the marker a little bit more to see if I could get more of the paint out thicker, but I haven't tried that yet. And one really nice thing about the small nib on this paper is that it didn't catch the paper and put off little paint spatters at all. It was super smooth on this paper. And you'll probably see as I'm drawing these faces that I missed the face on the red cat, but I catch that before I put it away, but not before I've taken all of the video for this video. So that was weird having to say video twice, but you know what I mean. So I do catch that I missed a face, and yeah, before I put the sketchbook away, that little face got added in. So we're all good. It's in there. So here's close-ups of our projects and our swatch sheets and the cute little kitty, including the one with the missing face. But he's kind of cute too. But he has a face now, like I said. Look at those beautiful colors. And there's the cover. I'm also going to varnish this cover somehow, maybe with that same varnish, or I might just spray it with the Krylon spray. So I'll have the markers, the sketchbook, the gloss varnish all linked below. If you're interested, you can check them out. And if I have a coupon code, I'll put that below as well. I'm not sure that I do, but that would sure be nice, wouldn't it? So just check the description box below this video. Thanks so much for joining me. It was really fun doing 3 different projects in this video. I felt like I really tested the markers out thoroughly, and I would recommend them. I think they're very nice. The fact that they're double-ended and have that small plastic nib on the other end makes them just one step above Posca, in my opinion. The paint payout felt the same as Posca. The coverage felt the same, with the exception of like 2 of the neon colors were pretty thin and the white is pretty thin. So I would say the white Posca is better than the white in this set, but as far as the rest of the colors, really great. Again, I wish I had a green and a standard orange, but we live and learn. They live and learn, I should say. They need to add that to this set. Take out, I don't know, take out some of the metallics. We don't need that many metallics. Give me more standard colors and I'd be a happy camper. All right, we'll see you in the next video. Bye for now. It's so funny. He just wants to help you obliterate the weeds. Come help, Jack. Oh, he caught it. I thought I missed it on camera.
It's super fun.
Yeah.